Hello, hello, and welcome to the In the Clouds podcast with Ben and Sarah. Today we'll be recording episode 4, and we're
Five.
super. Oh, so right now you're listening to episode 5 of In the Clouds. Right now you're listening to episode 5 of the In the Clouds podcast. It is the 5th and final episode.
We made it, Sarah. We're at the end.
Oh, I knew that it would be short lived.
It's okay. We had fun. I
We
hope our
did.
listeners had fun too.
I hope our listener had fun.
Hey, Mom.
All right. So we left off. All right.
Liam and Lucy, I almost called her Sarah. Liam and Lucy have
Wow.
just written each other's names on their arms so they won't forget that they just smooched.
Ooh. And also, Lucy briefly dated Jake.
Yeah, what the fuck was up with that?
I was fucked. And Jake had been like waiting for her for years. It was very
Yeah, he
fucked up.
had like a 10-year boner.
Yeah.
Shall I take it away?
Yes.
I didn't need the reminder when I woke up in the morning. The moment when we kissed was replaying in my head over and over. I couldn't tell if I had a headache from the hangover or from reliving last night. It's probably the vodka, Lucy, but okay. My excuse for not going to school would be I was upset because my boyfriend died and I didn't want to go to school. Not that I got drunk and made out with my dead boyfriend's best friend. Liam woke up beside me. Oh, we were in his room. He immediately rolled up his shirt to look at his arm. Oh, I thought I dreamed that, he laughed. Afraid not. I showed him my arm. So what do we do now? He asks. We wear long shirts until these wash off. It still happened whether they wash off or not. Well, then I don't know what we're supposed to do. I mean, we can't tell anyone. I mean, about us. Where do we go from here? He asked. I had no idea what to say. Everything was suddenly so complicated. I broke up with Jake because I wasn't ready and because Peter was going to ask me to marry him. So what had changed? Oh, yeah, that happened too. None of that mattered now. I just wanted to be with Liam no matter how complicated it was. Well, I love you, I said. I love you too, he said. Well, I guess we'll start there. But can you please believe me when I say that falling in love is a dangerous, 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 dangerous thing? Dangerous is written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It's just bad. I mean, I've seen what it can do to people, and not to be a downer, but it's mostly bad. And I'm slowly starting to realize that I never loved Peter because the way I feel around you is completely different. So what we have is new for me, and I'm kind of scared. I'm scared too, but I don't care. Everything feels right, and it hasn't felt this way for so long. So how could this be bad? We kissed again. Do you mind if I get my arm laminated to commemorate last night's festivities? He asks. Not at all. Might be easier to get it tattooed, but anyway, take it.
Laminate. So this seems to be a chapter break. I went home and showered. I figured I'd attend my last two classes of the day. I saw Devin in the halls and on my way to class. He pinned me against the lockers when he saw me. What? I
uh,
can't handle this fucking book. Liam told me everything. Well, I'm glad it was kept a secret. I asked him about this later, and he told me Devin forced it out of him, which I strongly doubt. I think he was just excited, which I understood because I was equally excited. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please don't kill me. He released his death hold. Well, I don't want to say I'm happy for you guys, but I'm really happy for you guys. Liam's a great guy, and if he were gay, I would have locked that down years ago. Wait a
so
second.
Devin's gay?
Devin's gay.
What?
Queer. We have a queer character. Back off. He's fine. I joke. I don't want to read. Can you take it?
Yeah. No, seriously, he's one of the greatest people I know. He was the first person I told I was gay. Oh, wow. I knew he would understand because he understands everything, no matter how bad it is. Not that being gay is bad or anything. What I meant is he'd probably help you bury a body or break you out of jail. He was with me when I came out with my parents, to my parents. I couldn't have done it without him. And despite my parents thinking Liam was my boyfriend and my dad taking a swing at him, I think it went over pretty well. We both laughed, even though I had heard the story 1,000 times and Devin told it 1,000 times. Hey, how come it's okay for me to date Liam and Jake Stewart was the end of the world? Why do you think, Lucy? I didn't care about Jake anymore, but I wanted to know. Because Peter would approve, he said with a smile. Tears filled my eyes and he hugged me. The bell rang and I was late for class and it didn't matter.
Okay, I'll take
Mid-chapter.
it. Liam's house became like my second home. I'd stay there too late and end up sleeping over. This got my parents' attention. It's not like we were doing anything anyway, but they were still not happy about it. They told me it was too soon to have another boyfriend. I told them they didn't understand because they didn't. Parents never understand anything. They have lived and learned from all their mistakes, but have forgotten how to live for moments. They let their age tell them that they were stupid when they were young and that they're better for knowing this. They said that they were letting things slide lately because of Peter, and that had been, and that I would have, okay. They said they were letting things slide lately because of Peter, and that I would have to go back to my old curfew and rules. We were trying to be there for you, but this has gotten out of hand, said my mom. That's how you were there for me, by ignoring me because you couldn't deal with me and letting me do whatever I wanted because I was dealing with it on my own. Being there for someone means physically being there even when they push you away. So don't fucking act like you were there. She left my room validating my point. What the fuck is that all about?
Her parents have been really nice through this whole ordeal. And Lucy's just been like a cunt. I didn't care what my parents thought about me anymore. At one point in my life, I would have been trying to impress them, but it seemed pointless now. I thought about Mrs. Stone and how she thought I was going to kill myself. Then I thought about how if I had my then I thought how if I had, my parents wouldn't have done any one thing to prevent it. And it wasn't their fault. They didn't do anything. It was an impossible situation, and they thought they were doing their best. Maybe I was being a little unreasonable, but they were my family and therefore obligated to forgive and love me eternally. My mom watched me walk out the front door and didn't say anything. I walked to Liam's house. Liam was in his backyard on his laptop. He knew I had been crying despite my efforts to wipe the smudged makeup from under my eyes. I told him what happened. He just hugged me and told me it would be all right. It was dark enough that we could see the stars. We sat in the grass, and Liam told me how he remembered his parents being so wonderful. He also said he can't remember if he had chosen to remember them that way or if they actually were that way. Memory can be funny sometimes. Do you ever think about suicide? I asked. It would have been off topic, but with Liam, everything was on topic.
Ew, I'm so cringed out by that line.
I think everyone does at some point. He knew what I meant. Like, not actually doing it, but wondering what it would be like, I guess. Why do you ask? I was just thinking, wouldn't you have to be crazy? Well, obviously you would, but why would you want to give this all up? One life can be so big. Sometimes I pick a random year or moment in my life and pretend that I killed myself, and then I count up all the things I would have missed. Like Mrs. Stone thought I was going to kill myself after Peter died, but look what I would have missed out on. I kissed him and hoped he wouldn't think I was crazy. He kissed me back and didn't because Liam understood.
I'll take her. Liam and I could have talked forever, and if we had run out of things to talk about, we would have made up new things. Do you think everyone feels like they're odd? Is there a person out there that truly believes they're normal? Liam asks. Yes, but we should probably consider that that person is indeed insane and thus not be normal. And shouldn't we first define normal?
This is quite the
Okay.
philosophy trip.
It's also cringy. Okay, good point. I think normal is someone who never questions about anything, knows both sides of every story, never creates anything original, and cries over anything mildly disruptive.
Sounds like
Nor-
Lucy.
Yeah, literally. Normal people don't think they just live. And I hope to God no one like that exists, but I bet they do. I've met people like that. But you can never be sure if those people are hiding behind a mask of normal, he says. Okay, so then I'm definitely not normal. Me neither. We never even had a chance, did we? I didn't answer the question because we both already knew the answer. Do you think thinking ruins stuff? Give me an example, he said. Okay, when I was little, oh my God, here we go. This is going to be the worst. Okay, when I was little, Beauty and the Beast was my favorite movie. And ever since I knew what sex was, I wondered if they ever did it. Like, how would that even work? I know this sounds fucked up, but on short notice, this is my example. Yeah, you would have ruined that movie for me forever. You see, I don't know why, but I thought Liam had the answers for everything. And even if he wasn't right, it always sounded convincing. It doesn't count with sex though, because pretty much everything relates to sex somehow if you want it to. And maybe thinking can ruin children's movies, but not much else. Lucy, trust me, you don't want to be normal. And even wanting to be normal isn't normal. Okay, so we've settled the normal debate. Now, do you think what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? I say. Why are they just sitting down and like, all right, boom, 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 back and forth? I don't know. Why don't you tell me your stance on the topic? If what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, then hypothetically strongest person in the history of the world would have had infinitely horrible things happen to them. And this hypothetical strong person wouldn't be strong at all. They'd be broken. What the fuck? What do we think about this part?
I'm definitely confused. It took a really um like introspective left turn.
Um, Good argument. I agree with you. This is how we always talked because Google could not answer all your questions, and some questions don't have answers. So we would agree on stuff, and that'd be true for us, and that would be all that would matter. Chapter end.
I left Liam's around I left Liam's after around 2 hours. He drove me back. When I walked in, I didn't look my parents in the eyes, but I told them not to worry about me anymore and that I'd be fine. You keep making mistakes and you're going to get hurt in the end. That's not something you would usually hear from my mother. Then I noticed she had been drinking because her stance was wobbly.
Everyone in this book is an alcoholic. Just
um, yeah. Well, if you don't learn something the hard way, you'll never learn at all. I said, I didn't really understand why it was such a big deal that I had another boyfriend. It had been months now since Peter died. I couldn't stand talking to my mother anymore, so I went into my room. I called Devin to be reassured that I wasn't a complete bitch for dating Liam. He would have wanted you to be happy, Lucy. I then told him about how he stopped Jake from going after me in grade 9. You wouldn't have been happy with Jake, and that's why. He had an answer for everything. Why not? I challenged. Well, he's hot, I'll give him that, but he's dumber than fuck, and you're clever, beautiful, and interesting. He would have bored you to tears,
ugh.
and you would have been unhappy. Now, are you happy with Liam? Yes. All right, so go to sleep. He hung up. Is this Lucy's diary? Like,
Is Devin just Lucy's diary?
oh my God. I love that.
Well, we've learned a little bit more about Devin. I wonder if we'll ever learn about Jim.
Oh my God, it's Jim Devin's boyfriend.
Oh my God, is he? I don't know.
Jim and Devin,
Do you
high
think it
school
will
gays. Sorry.
do you think it will ever be simple again? Liam asks. Maybe, but I don't want it to. When things were simple, you weren't Liam. I didn't even know you. You were just this thought in the back of my head, and I thought I knew everything there was to know about. It turns out I knew a version of you, not the you I know now. So if it's ever simple again, you wouldn't be my Liam. Anyway, that's the last things Anyway, that's the last time things were simple for me. How about you? Never mind. I used to think being a kid was simple, but it was probably the most confusing for me. I wanted to know everything, but I wasn't even allowed or lacked the mental capacity. And I tried not to let it worry me, but it did. Wow, that's right out of my brain.
Yeah, I hated being a kid.
I hated being a kid.
Fucking worst. Can't do
Y-
anything.
you don't understand anything. Everything's hard. You're
Totally.
learning everything for the first time.
You
You're
have no
learning how to
idea.
walk.
Fuck
You're
that.
literally learning how to walk and talk. It is the worst.
I was just an immobile mute for like 7 years because I was like, fuck this shit.
I didn't want to pick up a new hobby, so I just never learned how to walk. My name's Jared. I'm 19. I never fucking learned how to walk. I don't want to read the rest of this book.
We have 5 pages. We're gonna burn through this.
There's only 5 pages left.
Yeah, well, five, six, seven, seven.
I know there's some shit coming up.
We can get through this. All right, here we go. Maybe you think more than I do. We were in his room lying on his bed. I wish I could have talked to Liam forever. I would have never been bored. That's when I became okay with the idea of heaven. Oh, Jesus Christ. For me at least, because some people never fall in love like that I had, and that's why they kill themselves. And then when they get to heaven, they're still alone. Or maybe they wouldn't go to heaven at all. They would really be shitty considering their lives were hell and they spent eternity there. Then I thought about my aunt who killed herself. Oh, she remembers her. Before I understood depression, I thought that all people were like ticking time bombs on the verge of killing themselves. And at any moment, one would just explode and that would cause the rest of them to explode. This is why I'd always try to say nice things to people because then maybe they wouldn't explode. I think the same way sometimes. I'd look around at all the people around me and I could never know what they were thinking, but I hope they're really happy thoughts.
I thought maybe my mom got so angry at me because she was afraid of me becoming like her sister. Her husband left her, and that's where it all started. She was trying to prevent me from getting so hurt that I thought there was no way out. But Liam would never hurt me. Liam reminds me of the boy I reread books for, because at the beginning of the book, the bo- the boy the girl falls in love with is insignificant. Not that Liam was insignificant. It was just that I didn't know he would be anything more than Liam. He, ew, he soon became everything. And I don't mean everything like those stupid people who fall in love. I mean that Liam is what made everything else make sense. He made every bad thing worth it. Could you imagine all the things that could be accomplished if you didn't have to sleep? I meant it rhetorically. Sleeping is awesome. The book has turned into this like just back and forth, like them asking each other these really cringy questions.
Excuse me. Yeah, totally.
I kind of hate it.
Yeah, me too, but I want to finish it really bad. Well, you could still sleep if you wanted to, you just wouldn't have to. I'm talking about life when you stay up all night and you feel like you've invented time. Oh, Christ, I say. Okay, that would be pretty awesome too. Sometimes two intelligent people can talk about the most meaningless and stupid things, and they can be just as important as anything. We would fight too, but no one would cry, and it would just be over when it was over. There also wasn't that awkward pretending nothing happened aftermath. It just went back to normal afterwards because that's how it was supposed to be. Too much of our time is wasted fighting when we could be kissing, according to Liam. That was hard to refute, so I didn't bother. Liam went to the kitchen to make us snacks. I stayed in his room and checked out his bookshelf. I sat on the floor flipping through his copy of Catheter in the Rye. Catheter in the Rye. No, Catcher in the Rye, and tried to find all my favorite quotes. I felt too much like time had passed. I went to the kitchen to see what was going on. He was passed out on the ground, covered in his own blood.
No.
What's happening, Sarah?
He was reading Catcher in the Rye. She was reading the bell jar. No. Oh no.
I grabbed his phone from his pocket and called 911. I put it on speaker so I could wrap his wrists in dish towels. No. I
Oh
heard a woman's
no.
voice from the phone, but I don't remember what she was saying, so I don't remember what I told her. I just remember screaming and crying. Wake up, you stupid fucking moron! I kept yelling. The ambulance arrived about 10 minutes later. I sat in the back with him, watching them try to save him. I had never been so scared. Ugh, I hate this. They made me wait outside his room at the hospital while they worked on him. I called Devin and somehow managed to tell him what happened without crying so much that it became impossible to know what I was saying. I sat on the floor of the hallway and cried into my hands until Devin got there, whereupon we hugged for several minutes. Is she gonna try to date Devin?
Probably, even though he's gay. That won't stop her.
No. We're not gonna lose him, okay? He said. You didn't see him. You wouldn't be saying that if you had seen him. I promise, he said. A doctor walked out of his room. The pause before he spoke was cruelly long. He lost a lot of blood, but he's gonna make it. We managed to save him. He was flipping through a chart, not even looking us in the eyes. Wow. I thought of how stupid the doctor was for saying they saved him. Human life is so temporary. You can't save what will inevitably die. All we are is just waiting time to run out. He didn't save Liam. He gave him more time. Can we
Sorry, you
go?
messed up that line and I kind of liked it.
Oh, sorry.
All we are is just time waiting to run out.
Hmm. How true.
Mm.
He didn't save Liam. He gave him more time. Can we go in and see him? Devin asks. He nodded and walked down the hall. He's just like he's on his cell phone, like texting someone. Yeah, whatever. You can do whatever you want. Devin went in first. I followed slowly behind him. He's sleeping, Lucy, he whispered. I don't care. We're staying here until he wakes up. It's not like Devin wanted to leave. It's not like Devin wanted to leave. I don't even know why I said that. I stroked his hair and face, hoping he would wake. Liam, hey, wake up, babe, please. Nothing happened. Devin and I sat in chairs around his bed. He lost a lot of blood. Maybe you should let him sleep.
Okay, end of chapter. Can we just take a moment to like take that in? I couldn't even look at it. I had like my hands in over my eyes when you
Yeah,
were
that was
reading.
awful.
That's what I've been dreading. Like I was like, we're gonna get to it. It's gonna be so bad. But thank God she gave no detail. And by she, I mean me.
This is just a lost manuscript we found on the road.
um, yeah, poor little Liam.
Hmm. So he killed himself, tried to kill himself while he was hanging out with Lucy. While he was like, I'm gonna go make us snacks. And then he was like, you know what? Nah. Slit his own
Yeah,
wrists.
yeah.
I mean, I guess it was really on a whim. Or did he plan this? Like when Lucy's over, perfect timing.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out because we're almost at the end of the book.
Alrighty. Or we won't.
But why did he have to do that?
I know.
Why? Why did I write that? I could have stopped this from happening.
You're
I
like
have
going through what Devin was going through earlier. I could have stopped this from happening. I
no,
could have saved him.
Liam.
Oh, Liam, yes, you're right. Liam said that. Okay.
Okay, where are we? Oh,
Why did he
okay.
do this?
Why did he do this? He asks. Who knows why anyone does anything? I say. We didn't talk much, not even to entertain ourselves. We sat there listening to his heart monitor for half an hour before he woke up. His eyes started to open. I stood up and looked down in amazement. I wanted to slap him so much. Lucy, he coughed. See, sorry. Shut up. I kissed him. He softly pushed me away and looked me in the eyes. We can't do this anymore. Devin, can you leave us alone for a minute? I through my teeth. He walked out. What are you talking about? And why did you try to kill yourself? Oh my God.
I'm just picturing the scene happening. Devin, can you leave for a minute? And then this face she makes, sneer through the teeth. What's that about?
Ah. I don't know. He started crying hard. Liam, what's gotten into you? People aren't just fine one moment and try to kill themselves the next. It happens all the time. Another argument settled. Liam, tell me. You can tell me. I promise I'll understand. That's what we do. We just understand everything. So you need to tell me. He sat up in his bed and wiped the tears off his face. I wasn't being a good friend to Peter. When you have a best friend, even if you don't see them for a long time, or even if they die, you keep all their secrets, and you certainly don't fall in love with their girlfriends. And killing yourself seemed like the best way to solve that problem, I said. I can't live without you, and being with you is too hard. I don't say that. Don't say you can't live without me ever, I yell. Why? Because someday you might have to. And you can't just kill yourself. It's not that easy. You can live without people. People aren't permanent. You can't kill yourself. You told me once you couldn't live without Peter, he said. Yes, and look how wrong I was. Chapter end.
Is Lucy gonna kill herself? Because she was like, you might have to live without me one day.
I think she meant if she died of natural causes.
Mm, we'll see. I slept in the hospital the rest of the night on 2 chairs put together. It was really classy. I could have discharged.
Oh, Lucy.
I could have discharged Liam earlier, but when you attempt suicide, they make you go through psychological examinations. His aunt eventually showed up. I'll never forget the look she gave me. She blamed it all on me, obviously, which seems fair. I was there. Liam's doctors thought it was a good idea that I didn't see him for a while, at least until he was stable again. Devin drove me home. Also, they don't put you through psychological examinations. They lock you up immediately after you try to kill yourself.
Oh my God, that's so scary.
Anyway, where have you been? Screamed my mother. We called your phone 500,000 times. I didn't get any. I still had Liam's phone. Mine must have been at the house somewhere. We know what happened. Liam's aunt called us earlier. Then why are you asking me where I was if you already knew? You were gone and didn't tell us where you were, said my dad. Okay, you were right. I got hurt, okay? You win. I couldn't tell what emotion my mom was experiencing. I just hoped she wasn't suppressing a smile. I suppose I'm grounded then. They didn't say anything. I went upstairs and didn't come until I had to go to school.
Lucy thinks that everyone is out to get her.
Literally.
She thinks that her dad is like wanting to drive her to school with like malicious intentions.
Literally. He's always a bit too excited to drive her to school.
Like when really he's just being a good dad who wants to like give you a lift to school. And then like the mom now, well, the mom did get drunk and say that bitchy thing earlier.
She
And also
deserved it.
I love how the parents don't have names.
Oh, true.
They just don't.
No. No take it.
Nobody knew what had happened last night except for Devin and I. We both swore not to tell anyone, but I had the paranoia that somehow everyone would find out. I didn't care what anyone would have thought about me. I cared about Liam being in the psych ward and having everyone talk about him behind his back. I sat in all my classes, being the only one who knew about any of it. I didn't want to be there anymore. And with Liam out of the picture, I had no reason to stay. I left school early. That way my parents would be at work and wouldn't see me leave. That was the night I actually left. And nobody stopped me this time. I had my purse, suitcase, and Peter's ring, and that was all I needed to get by. My parents would get home and I wouldn't be there, and it would be a relief for them.
She gets to the pawn shop. This is a Cracker Jack ring, ma'am.
Ma'am, this is an onion ring. I hopped on a train, not giving the slightest thought as to where I was going, where it was going. I just went. For once, I didn't think. I found a town far enough away. Moving in is really simple when you don't have any furniture or standards. The apartment I rented, this has happened so quickly in a matter of broken up little tiny paragraphs.
How did she? Okay, I have a lot of questions coming up, but go ahead.
The apartment I rented was small. I'm so sorry. The apartment I rented was small and and had roaches. Now that's
Uh,
no, that's the best line in the book.
how did she rent an apartment? Is she 18? Does she have a credit score?
No, she doesn't have anything.
Oh my God. The next sentence.
The landlord grabbed my ass after giving me the key, and from the looks of it, all the other tenants on my floor at least were addicted to drugs or selling them. Why don't you take it?
In a new place, it's hard to think about what you just left a day ago. They'd all be better off without me, though, I thought. I'd rather leave Liam than watch him kill himself because of me. My new apartment was furnished. Oh, that's nice. By that I mean I had a frameless mattress on the floor in the middle of the living room. I covered it with my sheets, laid down, and cried until I fell asleep. They were the worst nightmares yet, and the worst part was I couldn't wake up from them. The next morning, one of my neighbors said they heard me screaming last night. However, they weren't concerned. If anything, they enjoyed it. Oh. The only place at which I could find work was a shitty diner, which was simply called Diner.
What?
So meta. It was better than nothing. I somehow became more optimistic in my new life. Taking what I could get and accepting it all was good enough. Small victories like that, tap running clear water. What? Small victories like that, like the tap running clear water, were my happiness. She becomes stoic. Pay wasn't for 2 weeks, so I had to sell Peter's ring for rent money. I stopped eating. I stopped eating as well. I couldn't afford it even if I wanted to, and I had lost my appetite ever since Peter died. I'd sneak food at the restaurant when I was really desperate. I felt so silly behaving like a survivor in this world. So many people had worse problems, and it didn't even matter because it never matters and it never will. No matter how bad someone else's life is, yours will always be your main priority. It's not selfish, it's human. Sure, you can feel empathy, but the hardships of others can never really lessen your own. On my first day of work at the restaurant, on my first day of work, the restaurant was fortunate enough to be graced with the company of the health inspector. As the new girl, I had to talk to him considering I didn't know how much of the health code of the restaurant was through. I As the new girl, I had to talk to him considering I didn't know how much of the health code the restaurant was currently violating. Your first day on the job? Great. Talk to the health inspector. That literally happened to me at Tim Hortons. The health inspector came my first day of work, and they were like, he was like, "Did you see any ants or bugs on the counter?" I was like, "Well, it's my first day." He's like, "Okay." um, he didn't just list the things the diner was doing wrong. He asked me in the form of condescending questions. Are you aware that you will receive a failing grade for this inspection? She owns the restaurant now. Do you know how many health code violations you have? I didn't think it was fair. He talked to me as if I were the diner.
not, not as if you owned the diner, as if you were.
Were the diner. Wait. After he left the diner, my boss gave me a half an hour lecture about loyalty to the restaurant. It became clear to me that my new boss was psychotic. Before I left, I knew that nothing in my life would be permanent. I knew my part time job wouldn't be forever. School could only go on for so long. Friends would eventually grow apart. And as bad as it sounds, I knew Peter wouldn't be my boyfriend forever. But these things seemed like they would never change. I would never get a better job with an incomplete high school education. I would never have enough money to get a better place, and I didn't have any friends or a boyfriend. I felt even more stuck than I did back home. Where are her parents? Your parents should have picked you up by now. After my shift, I after my shift, I went home. Although I didn't feel like home, I was skeptical about putting clothes in the dirty closet with rusty hangers, so I left them in my suitcase. Everything is a death trap in this apartment. The apartment was a fixer-upper, to say the least. Whatever wallpaper had been on the walls was damp and peeling. Only one outlet worked, and even though I was afraid of, and only one outlet worked, and even then I was afraid to use it in fear of getting electrocuted. The worst part of it had to be the neighbors. I could hear them when I was trying to sleep sometimes. They'd either be fighting really loudly or having sex really loudly, or both.
Ooh.
Once I had some big guy knock on my door at 3 in the morning. He was looking for his dealer. I thought I was going to die. Thankfully, his dealer heard us talking through the paper thin walls and corrected him. Had he not been big enough to kill me with one punch, I would have told him off and told him to get the address right. But I just let it go. Next time, I just won't answer my door. There was a peephole in the door, of course, although it had been smashed and impossible to see out of. I woke up and took a freezing shower with brief periods of piping hot water. This is fucking awful. I would be working at the diner all day. No, I would be working at diner all day. I don't think the shifts I was being scheduled would be recognized as legal by the labor board. I wouldn't get breaks, and the harassment was unbelievable, but I needed money.
I took the bus to work every day. The people on it were just as sketchy as the ones from my apartment. I tried not to make eye contact with any of them, but it was hard because there was nothing else to do or nothing else to look at other than some old torn up advertisements. Why did she move to Crackton?
I should have got off in Crackton.
Why did she move there? Oh my god,
um,
Lucy.
is this chapter entitled Karma?
I don't know. Um, I didn't want to look out the window because this was the most depressing neighborhood I had ever seen. All the buildings were old, some even partially burned down. The street signs were illegible, and every car, whether parked on the street or driving down it, were rusted almost to the point of disintegration. I arrived 10 minutes before my shift was supposed to start and got yelled at for being late. My boss's name was Earl. Come on. Think of a more original diner owner. For fuck's sake. He was fat and loud. Aw. And I never saw him in anything other than the same grease stained apron and hairnet that wasn't doing its job. No matter how rude my customers were, I still slapped on a fake smile. I still never got tipped more than a few bucks, but it was worth a shot. For some reason, old creepy guys think a good substitution for a tip is their phone number on the table after they leave. I don't even mean on a piece of paper. Sometimes it would literally be carved into the table. With every shift, there would be different employees. Earl had waitresses that would come and go and occasionally would make his daughters cover shifts. Except for Alan, he was always there when I worked. Oh no.
I can't. I can't. So, boyfriend? He asked me after our shifts were over. He had sandy blonde hair with brown eyes. He was cute, I'll admit, but I didn't
that
want to
is the
notice that was he was cute.
that was the first time there's ever been in the book a description of a character like we
We
know
don't know
that
what Jim looks like. We don't know what Devin looks like. We don't really know what Liam looks like.
Peter was handsome and had a cruise ship, but that's pretty much it. Lucy has brown hair and she wore it straight that day.
She's quirky. Um, he was cute, I'll admit, but I didn't want to notice that he was cute. It was hard not to notice, though. His muscles protruded from his server uniform. I'm not sure if he purposely got a shirt a size too small. I'm not really into boys right now. So you're a lesbian? He brushed off. No, I'm just not dating right now. Let me guess, some douchebag broke your heart. He smiled. Something like that, I say. Come on, let me buy you dinner. He continued smiling, waiting for my response. Well, I guess I haven't eaten in days. I guess that would be okay. It sounds stupid that I would say yes to this, but in my defense, I had barely eaten in days and had no money for friends. No money or friends, not money for friends. The restaurant Alan took me to wasn't so bad. It was definitely a few steps up from the diner. I felt safe in the restaurant, if that makes sense. Like I didn't feel like I was going to contract any diseases from really being there. So, what's your story? He asks, with no idea what he's getting himself into. You really want to know? I said dangerously, but inexplicably flirty. Why not? He says. Okay, where do I start? I dated this guy for about 2 years, then I decided to cheat on him with a total asshole on the night that he died. Then, to top it all off, it would be a good idea to date my late boyfriend's best friend who tried to kill himself. Alan stared at me blankly and then looked away, avoiding eye contact. Sorry, I shouldn't have told you that. I should have lied. I'm going to start a new life and all. No, I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have asked. That can't be it, though. There's gotta be more to you. I just can't tell. What you told me wasn't your story, maybe the last chapter. I'm afraid everything leading up to this was fairly mediocre. I guess it was karma for living such a boring life. We laugh, breaking the tension. What was his name? He asks. Huh? The boy you love. What was his name? Liam, I said firmly. And which was he, the asshole, the boyfriend, or the basket case? Basket case. Do you still love him? He asks, and I feel the tears starting to well in my eyes. Then the feeling quickly passes. That was the first time I missed Liam since I got there. I thought about him every day and every night, but this was the first time I needed him. I know this might be a stupid question, but are you okay? I don't know, I said in an oddly peppy voice. Well, you must be.
No.
I don't know.
Are you okay? I don't know.
Well, you must be grieving, depressed, lonely. He was very intrusive. Yeah, well, I used to think depression would be sad, but sometimes it's just nothing. I feel nothing. I want to cry, but I can't. I want to scream and punch something, but I don't have any energy. It's like I'm not even alive. I feel like this person that should have died a long time ago, but now I'm just running on empty. Why am I even telling you any of this? It's like food, he says. You're so hungry that you get to the point where you'll eat anything. You need to talk in there, and I was there. He had a way of sounding really stupid in the most intellectual way. And you think I'm lonely too? I say, bringing up the previous question. You don't have to be, he says, stretching his hand across the table and placing it on mine.
No, not a
Oh,
no, no,
I sat at the end of.
no, no. Chapter, end of chapter, new
Can you take
chapter.
it? I can't read anymore.
Okay. I sat at the end of Alan's bed wearing nothing but his shirt, waiting for him to wake up. The light from the morning sun was streaming through the blinds. I heard Alan groan and stretch behind me. Hey, beautiful, he says. He climbs over to me where I was on the bed and kisses me on the neck before putting his pants on that had been slung on the floor the previous night. He looks around the floor and then at me, noticing his shirt. Keep it, it's cute on you. Thanks, I say as I adjust the shirt. so, so here's the obligatory morning after question that's burning in my mind. What exactly is this? I make a gesture pointing to both of us. I mean, we work together. What is this? Is that, am I here whenever you need me? What this is that I am here whenever you need me. He leans over and kisses me just before finishing the last word. What he's basically telling me is that I could have sex with him whenever I wanted, but in his eyes, he would be doing a good deed. But I wasn't really in the mood to be somebody's good deed. So that's who you're going to be in my story that you were so desperate to hear, I said sharply. Excuse me, he said, still wearing the smile from his last comment. The asshole, the boy from the basket case. I guess you're the one night stand, huh? I guess so, he says, stepping down to my tone. Good, just making sure that last night meant as little to you as it did to me, I said with a poorly faked grin. I'll see you at work then. I don't understand myself sometimes. I guess I just wanted to hurt him. I thought I would have meant more to him than an easy lay, but apparently not.
It wasn't even awkward seeing him at work that day, probably because we both felt nothing for each other. He still tried to joke around with me like before, but I wasn't in the mood. Every time I looked at him, I felt a shudder of regret, wincing as I relived the previous night. I felt like I had cheated on Liam, even though Liam technically broke up with me and we weren't dating anymore. Every time Alan kissed me or touched me, it made me miss Liam. Why is he? When someone you love kisses you, your heart races. Breathing doesn't seem like a necessity anymore, and you sink into bliss. But when someone you have no feelings for kisses you, it might as well be a handshake in a business setting. The only thing you feel is emptiness. Every time I get a handshake in the business setting, it's just like emptiness. When I got home after my shift, I
Wait,
cleaned
wait,
the
wait,
apartment.
wait.
Okay.
I just, okay. I don't remember anything past that point, and I just want to see how much is left.
A page.
I don't think this is like,
Canon.
I just think it's random shit that I wrote. I don't think it's the book.
Yeah. So this is the final sentence. When I got home after my shift, I cleaned the apartment. I felt like I was always cleaning it. It was an eternal state of filth. And that's In the Clouds by Sarah Lovelace.
And that's how it ends. She's just eternally cleaning a dirty apartment and having sex with a guy for whom she has no feelings.
It's essentially Les Mis.
Okay, do you want to read the extremely cringy after parts?
Can you take it?
Hi.
Are we gonna read this part or are we gonna skip over it?
I say we read it,
Okay.
but we can cut it out if it's gay, which from the looks of it,
Yeah, I skimmed it. It doesn't really add anything to the story.
no. These were like ideas I had for parts that I never finished.
Mm.
I can't believe that she described her apartment as dank.
That's so funny.
It made my life.
This book changed me.
Did it?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on this part, on these last parts?
I couldn't handle anything that happened. Like
Me
Liam
either.
fucking tries to kill himself. Lucy becomes Eponine somehow. She's just always dirty and like men don't love her. I don't know. I'm cutting that
Yeah, we were introduced to two new white characters.
out.
And
Elio never came.
yeah, not a
Hmm.
single character was given a description except for Alan.
Jim's gay, or Devin's gay rather.
We never heard from Jim again.
Nope.
She didn't even say goodbye to Jim.
Or Samantha,
Oh yeah.
or Megan.
I think she would have come back.
Yeah. I'm impressed that you wrote this. Like, I'm just impressed that you wrote so much.
Wow. Thank
I've
you.
never written anything this long in my life.
Hmm. All right, read the cringy after thing.
People think almost dying is some accomplishment, or at least they talk about it like they do. But what they don't realize is how close they always are to almost not living. Every moment of their lives are so close to not happening. If some random person at some point in their life didn't make some random minor decision, everything would be different. They act like because they saw their life slip away just for a second that they know something. They don't know that they're always slipping. That if someone wrote down the future on paper, they'd see all the extraneous decisions and they'd see how pointless it all is. How all of these small things don't ultimately add up to anything big or anything even worth living. Jesus, were you depressed?
I think
Death, ru-
so.
death ruins everything. Pretend your best friend dies, and thinking about how that world would destroy you as a person, how that would destroy you as a person, and think about how long it would take you to get over it and how it would change you. Now think of every best friend you've ever had and ask if you're still friends with any of these people. Now pretend the aforementioned best friend didn't die and how you would inevitably drift apart like all the other best friends. Did you have friends?
Yeah.
Think of how someday that person to whom you told all your secrets and shared laughs and cries never even crosses your mind. Or you see them years down the line and they don't even recognize you. Or they see you but don't even know it because you didn't recognize them. One day they'll die and you might only, one day they'll die and you might hear it in the news and pretend to feel something, or you might not even know it all. How come it only means something if someone dies when they're your best friend? The only reason that person ever mattered to you is because they died. When people die, it makes us think that we miss them when they're gone, when really we are perfectly capable of living without them, because in the end, they're just as gone. It's much easier to get over an alive person than it is a dead one. You're not like everyone else. When I'm around other people, I feel like I'm trying to be myself. Like they have all the conceptions about like they have all this conceptions about me. I'm constantly trying to meet them. I feel like an actor playing this Lucy Hamilton character. It's only when I'm with you that I feel like me. People think
Oh,
people think sex, drugs, and alcohol change you. Once you do them, you're marked by them. What really happens is they find out about you and think you've changed and then feed off these delusions until their sad little minds truly believe that
dilutions.
you've changed. Then they act differently towards you, causing you to act differently and thus proving their delusions. You can
I
never
farted.
truly know yourself. You can't trust yourself either.
Can
You
you
never,
start that over?
yeah.
Can you start that over? Because I said that I farted.
You can never truly know yourself. You can't trust yourself either. You never know where you'll go or what you'll be capable of. You can say something and truly mean it and then have it become meaningless with time. You can change your mind like a flick of a switch and instantly become a hypocrite. That's why I can't be confident. It's why I always doubt myself. I've seen so many people do the things they said they never would. I'll just keep an open mind, then I'll never have to be wrong, just simply undecided.
What were these? These little, what were they? What do you call
Chapters to
them?
come. I can only hope.
All right. Well, let's not put any of that in the podcast.
So, how do you feel about what we just read, Sarah?
Well, I really didn't like that Liam tried to kill himself. I really wish it wasn't in there at all.
Yeah, I think Liam and Megan should get together.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Megan already has a boyfriend.
Maybe she'll have two.
Well, I can't believe it's over.
I know. This was so much fun. Thank you for doing this with me. And thank you for sharing your book with everyone.
No worries. I don't know what to say.
Any parting thoughts?
Well, I'm proud of myself that I like thought of a story, like as bad as it is, at least I did it, you know?
They can never say you didn't try.
Exactly.
Well, I'll see you in the place for one last time.
I'll see you in the place.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening.